Welcome, everybody, to Week 1 of the NFL Pick'em Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The NFL Pick'em Show is brought to you by Replenishing Care Technologies, the future of sports medicine. To check out Replenishing Care, go to thegruelingtruth.net, click on the banner at the top of the page. Right now, I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in my co-hosts. First up, a man who has been tied for first 3 straight years on the Pick'em Show, Matt Andruscavage.
That is pretty amazing. I remember I thought it was pretty amazing the first time, but I don't know how we've done it 3 years in a row.
I don't know. I guess great minds think alike. In the last 2 years, the man who has been behind us in the Pick'em Show, and he's also a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, which we try not to hold against him, but sometimes it's hard not to. Help me welcome to the show, Brian Schmidt.
Wow, I think you might want to redo that introduction. I didn't like that at all. Oh, what's up, everybody? It's that time again.
Yep, it's time for us to hate each other for 6 months. The Bengals and Steelers battle for the AFC North. And last but certainly not least, the man who led the Cincinnati Bearcats to the Sugar Bowl in 2009, undefeated season, beat Pittsburgh. I think that was the last game of the season, on damn near the last play of the game. Help me welcome to the show, Tony Pike. How you doing, Tony?
Not bad. I don't mind that introduction. That worked out perfect.
Well, see, because you beat Pittsburgh, you weren't, cheering for Pittsburgh. So, that kind of happens. All right, so let's start off with a little news, and we'll start off with Tony. Khalil Mack being traded to the Chicago Bears. What's your take on that? And is John Gruden set up for failure here, at least for a year or two?
Well, I think John Gruden, I think it's going to be a learning curve because, he's as connected as he's been. I feel like he's been out of the game for a while. And the game of football, since he coached last, has changed a lot. And I think that starts with your relationship with your players and how they view you. And it clearly was a problem from the start with Khalil Mack. And I don't care what you get back from the guy in the trade. When you lose a guy of that caliber, you just have to question what's going on behind the closed doors. So I think it's great for the Bears. I think it's a huge loss for the Raiders. And John Gruden must have a thing for, we talk about the theme of former Bengals, because I think he's got about 6 or 7 on the roster now that he's plucked from free agency or from the Bengals roster. So he's trying to create the roster he wants. But like I said, Khalil Mack's one of those once in a decade talents that you just hate to see just walk.
Yeah, I mean, and Schmidt, this is a defense that was bad before they lost Khalil Mack. And I know Gruden said, I've heard people say they were bad before he left, so what's the big deal? But Khalil Mack's a guy you can build your defense around. They've got nobody like that right now, so they're going to have to they better draft great in the next couple of years.
Yeah, defensively, when you're not a great defense, but at least you have an end like Khalil Mack. I mean, at least that's something where you would think coming into this, you go, okay, hey, look, we're going to build our defense around him. We're going to draft well, do these things. We can make this defense, and even as soon as next year, we can make this defense an outstanding defense. So now you do this, and I mean, they better be able to put up some points because I don't know that they're going to stop too many teams.
Yeah, and with their offensive line, I don't know how many points they're going to be able to put up. Matt, we're going to change it a little bit for you since you're a 49er fan. What is your take on the Jerick McKinnon loss with the torn ACL for the 49ers?
Oh, real bummer because it was on the last play of the last practice and just took a nasty turn. He was doing a cut, and you know how these things go. But, yeah, it's definitely a loss. I do think they've got enough. I mean, the running game was not going to be the driving force behind the offense to begin with. The passing game is the strength of the team. But it would have been so nice to see Jerick McKinnon in that offense. I think he fits in real well, especially in the passing game. But I really do like Matt Breida, and I think Alfred Morris has some in the tank. But it's a loss. It's gonna sting.
All right. Well, it's all right because I don't like the 49ers. All right. So
well, I'm glad you asked then.
Before we get to our picks for the week, we've got to start off. We didn't do an NFL preview show this year, which we normally do. So real quick, Matt, who's your Super Bowl competitors?
Oh, boy. Well, obviously, I think we say this every year. Really, until New England loses, it's hard to go against New England. So I'm gonna take New England out of the AFC. The NFC, obviously, the four big ones that everyone sees are the Vikings, the Eagles, the Rams, and the Saints. I think the Saints are the most underrated of those four, and probably could really surprise. I'm going with a Saints-Eagles championship game, and I'm taking the Saints to go to the Super Bowl.
All right. Tony?
Yeah, I think it's tough this year. I think when you look at I don't know with all the question marks surrounding the Patriots with the Edelman suspension, the receiving core. It seems like every year they have to come out and play during the length of the year, but it's hard to bet against Brady. But I look at a team like Pittsburgh, who, as much as it hurts me to say, when you're
don't say it then, Tony.
Ben and,
don't do it.
When you're Big Ben and you have a couple years left, and you don't know if you're going to extend Le'Veon Bell, and you got Antonio Brown, I just feel like that core group has one more chance to really make a run. And I like how the Rams have stacked up. I think when you look at their additions and Brandon Cooks and the defense, and you got Donald signed, and now you bring in Dominic Sue with it, I think that's going to be a tough team to score on, and a team now with Jared Goff that found his groove last year that can put up points as well.
All right, Schmidt.
First of all, I think the NFC playoffs are going to, if you were to go to playoffs right now, I think they're going to be outstanding. I think certainly the Saints, the Vikings, defensively, the Eagles didn't have a great preseason, but it's preseason. They're going to be fine, and I love the Rams. I think the Rams, just everything they've done defensively, and really, offensively, what they did last year, they've got to come back. I just think the Rams are a dangerous team. In the AFC, I mean, until, and I know New England has problems, but until they get knocked up, I mean, that New England is New England, and they are a team that is going to be there. I like the Steelers, but to me, it comes down to, until somebody knocks off New England, it's going to be New England in the AFC. And like I said, I go back and forth between the Saints and the Rams. If I have to pick one now, I'm going to pick the Rams, just because I like them. But it would not surprise me. The Saints, Vikings, Eagles, Rams, it wouldn't surprise me if any of those were there. And don't forget, even though the Packers don't have a lot there, they got Aaron Rodgers, and a healthy Aaron Rodgers is always good for 11 wins.
Yeah, but
and always
not
dangerous
good for going to the Super Bowl, Brian.
Usually not, but don't ever count them out. And the 49ers are going to be a little bit interesting too. So, but right now I'm going to go with the Rams and the Patriots.
All right, I'm going to keep this easy. I think the Chargers are coming out of the AFC, and they'll play the Saints in the Super Bowl.
Chargers, okay.
Chargers. I like the defense.
Out on a limb early.
With Melvin Gordon, they're going to be able to run the ball. You got Phillip Rivers. And I think the AFC West is basically a cluster. I think Kansas City, when you look at their schedule, they've got a rough schedule the first half of the season. You're going with Patrick Mahomes, who's a young quarterback. I think that they're going to get better as the season goes on, but I think they'll start off so slow they're going to be in trouble. Denver's a team that interests me because I do like Case Keenum, and defensively they're going to be really good. But I was going to take the Chargers just because for the last 20 years I think I picked the Patriots to come out of the AFC. All right, guys, let's go ahead. We'll go to Week 1, Thursday night, the Atlanta Falcons at the Philadelphia Eagles. These are the last two participants in the NFC in the Super Bowl. The Eagles, of course, won the Super Bowl last year. The Falcons blew the lead to the Patriots the year before. It looks like we're going to get Nick Foles at quarterback, Schmitty. Who do you like in this?
Man, this one I've gone back and forth on as well, but I'm going to take the Falcons. I just my feeling has really been all week. I just love Ryan, the quarterback, and Nick Foles did a great job last year. But I just think the Falcons are gonna be able to put up points, and I think this is going to be a high scoring game. I think they'll definitely definitely be a low 30s, high 20s kind of game. But I think the Falcons are going to win this.
Yeah, and I actually agree with Brian. I think the Falcons are going to win this game too. And this game, or these two teams, I think, Tony, are the personification of why the NFL preseason does not matter, because neither one looked good in the preseason. But I think these are both teams that easily win 10 games this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we're talking about preseason. The Browns went 4-0 in the preseason last year and did win a game in the regular season.
Yeah.
It's very easy to get caught up in that hype that is preseason football, just because everyone's excited to have football back. When you look at coming out of the gates, you look at a team like the Eagles, question mark at quarterback, the question mark at the receiver position with Alshon Jeffrey not looking like he's going to be able to go. And then you just got a lot of distractions. The first game since the Super Bowl, everyone's all amped up. I think the Falcons come in and steal one early here in week 1.
All right. Matt, you want to make it a 4-way sweep?
No, I wrote it down before you guys started. I'm going with the Eagles. I get your reasons. I would probably make it a 4 sweep if this was in Atlanta. I think I just like the Eagles at home, defending their title. I don't know that this necessarily means that they're going to, run the table or anything just by winning that first game. But I think, the emotional part of this and being at home is going to matter. I think Nick Foles still wants to prove that he's not a fluke. I think they're deep enough at receiver and at running back and just really all over their team. They're one of the deeper teams in the league. I do like Atlanta, but I think the Eagles will be able to knock them off at home. It'll be a close game, though.
All right, next up, we've got the Cincinnati Bengals at the Indianapolis Colts. Tony, I'll start off with you. And the thing that blew my mind about this, Tony, is I don't know if the line's still this way, but Sunday I went on one of these betting sites, and the Bengals were like plus 160 and like a 4-point underdog or a 3.5-point underdog in this game. And I think that's nuts because I think this game's a complete mismatch. You there, Tony?
Yeah. Sorry about that. But no, I agree. When you look at Cincinnati in general, I mean, the Bearcats coming off a win at UCLA are underdogs this week to Miami of Ohio. And like you said, the Bengals, I think, run away with this game at Indy. The only thing that worries me about Indy, Andrew Luck, Jack Doyle caught 12 passes against the Bengals last year with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Andrew Luck's not going to throw the ball down the field. He's going to try to target Doyle 20 times if he can. But I think at the end of the day, I think the Bengals this year have too much firepower, and they win this one pretty easy.
All right, Matt?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think the Bengals can handle this Colts team. The Colts have, I would say, they've got some good individual talent at certain positions, but as a unit, the defense, I just don't think can really stop anybody. I think their offensive line has trouble, and I just don't think they've got enough around Andrew Luck to really make a difference. The Bengals, if John Ross is healthy and Tyler Eifert's healthy this year, I mean, is Tyler Eifert playing week 1?
Yeah, I assume he is, isn't he, Tony?
Yeah, I think they're going to use a third down and red zone type package for Eifert.
Hey,
at
you
least
never know.
the
He
year,
could
which I
get
think
hurt between now and then, too.
If John Ross is out there, you got A.J. Green. They've got the ability to run the ball with Mixon and Gio Bernard. I think both teams got offensive line problems, but I don't think the Colts have enough in their front seven to really disrupt Andy Dalton or that run game. So Bengals should be able to win this by at least 10 points.
All right, Brian?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm going to go with the Bengals. The Colts just, to me, they're a team that just nothing really is impressive about them, and you're a strong wind blowing away from Andrew Luck being hurt again. So it's so hard to really go with that, and I just think the Bengals have a lot of weapons offensively. I like their offense, and I know I hear so many times about people they talk poorly about Andy Dalton, and I think Andy Dalton is an outstanding quarterback. So I think the Bengals are going to win this. I don't even think it'll be 10. I'm thinking 13 to 17 points at least.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, because when I saw this, I actually went on my bookie and put like $100 in and put $100 on him to win 140 or 150. So, and I never do that because I never have the balls to. Next up, we've got the Buffalo Bills at the Baltimore Ravens. Brian, I think Buffalo may be the least talented team in the NFL. Nathan Peterman's going to start at quarterback. For some reason, I mean, I guess they did it because the Bengals put him in the playoffs last year. They went ahead and took Russell Bodine, gave the Bengals Preston Brown basically in free agency. And then on top of that, the Bills now have Marshall Newhouse. Their offensive line's a mess. Nathan Peterman, I'm not going to hold one bad game against him. That doesn't mean he's going to be a terrible quarterback. But I think he's just in a bad situation in Buffalo.
Yeah, and the thing is with Buffalo is I know 2-3 years ago, people were talking about how this was hey, they're building, things are getting better, and it's just like they almost just took the chalkboard and erased it and said, oh, we're starting over again. There's just, again, kind of the same way with Indianapolis, same way with the Bills. You don't see anything that you grab onto and say, well, hey, this is something to grab, offensively, defensively. There's nothing to grab onto that makes you go, okay, they're going to be a great offense, they're going to be a great defense. Nothing. So with that, I'm going to take the Ravens.
All right. Tony, what's your take on the Ravens? I mean, do you think Joe Flacco will be helped by having maybe some competition with Lamar Jackson? And did they do enough in the offseason, not just to win this game, but to be a contender in the AFC North? Do they have enough firepower to overtake the Steelers?
I think they have enough to give it a good run for the money. In this game, I think the Ravens run away with this. I think, like you said, the Lamar Jackson drafting, I think, reignites Joe Flacco. From all accounts, he's had a great preseason. He's looked great at camp. They're using the down-the-field pass. I think John Brown's going to be kind of a sleeper receiver for them. But I think Alex Collins at running back, I think they have enough weapons offensively to put up some points. And then you look at their defense. Their defense is always going to be up there, tops in the league, especially going against Nathan Peterman week one. They're going to be licking their lips. I think the Ravens get out of this one pretty easily and gain that momentum for the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Ravens win this by double digits. Matt?
Yeah, I don't see any really way that the Bills win this. Other than LaShawn McCoy, I mean, there just isn't a lot on that team, and he's getting up there in age, too. The Ravens at home, I mean, even if this was in Buffalo, I'd pick Baltimore, but at home, you got John Harbaugh. I mean, Flacco, I don't see really any reason to believe that he'll make a lot of mistakes in this game. As Alex Collins has mentioned, he's a solid back. I just see Baltimore just bullying the Bills. I don't think the Bills are good at all.
No. And next up, Matt, we've got the New Orleans Saints, a team that you predicted to be in the Super Bowl, I think. Will host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Superdome. What's your take on that one?
Tampa's, we talked about Tampa a lot last year. I feel similar with them in some ways this year, but I don't know. Jameis Winston he's suspended the first 3 weeks. I think that's a problem. I think Fitzpatrick is the backup.
I'm doing the NFL.
And,
you going to be up for a while?
I like Mike Evans a lot. I like Tampa's roster, but with this being in New Orleans, there's no way they're going to be able to run with New Orleans. New Orleans have improved their defense. I really like Alvin Kamara at running back. They got a lot around Drew Brees, so I don't see any reason why Tampa Bay would do anything to slow that offense down. So I think New Orleans I think they put up at least 35 on them.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that's impressive is the way the Saints have retooled themselves over the last 2 years to now be a team that can basically play smash-mouth football, Brian.
Yeah, the great part with that is you have a guy like Drew Brees that's always been able to throw the football around, but now you've got a running game. So now that sets up, Drew Brees has always been very underrated in terms of his play action skills, things like that. People don't really talk about that a lot, but he's very good with that. And now you've got a running game that makes that play action much more effective. And I just like their offense. I think they've just got so many weapons. And as you know, as Matt said, I mean, they've retooled the defense. I think they win this. I don't really think it's going to be all that close. I think the Saints are going to blow them out.
All right, Tony, you think the Bucs have any shot at all in this one?
No, I really want to, make that first upset pick. But this, to me, there's no chance. And you guys hit on it that the Kamara, what he brings to the table for Drew Brees in the passing game is so much more. But you look at, you got Ted Ginn that can go over the top. Cameron Meredith, I think, is going to have a great year. Obviously, Michael Thomas. They made the decision to bring back Benjamin Watson. I know it's his 15th year, but I think that's a guy, he thrived in that offense before. I think he could give them some good downs. I think he can make some big catches for him. But when you go into the Superdome and you're almost a 10-point underdog, there's not a lot of teams that are going to come out of there on top, and I think they run away with this. With a Tampa Bay roster that, a few years ago it looked like they were pushing their way to the top and we're going to compete year in, year out, and they've just completely fallen apart. And then they, along with Buffalo, I think are a couple teams in disarray this year.
Yeah, so we got a four-way sweep on that one. The next game, the Houston Texans, who I think are an interesting team coming in this year, at the New England Patriots, Tony.
Yeah, now this I like as the Texans coming in and stealing one early. I think when you look at what Deshaun Watson was, obviously, before the injury last year, how he's going to bounce back. The Texans always strong defensively, but I like their weapons. I think Hopkins is going to have a big year. I think Fuller steps in, makes some big plays down the field in a game like this. So for me, I'm gonna go on the limb and say that New England loses their home opener this year.
Oh, damn it, Tony. That was going to be my upset pick. Let's see. I'm going to go with the Texans, too. I like Deshaun Watson. J.J. Watt's back and healthy. And my question is, can the Patriots stop anybody? Because we saw them in the Super Bowl. They were horrible last year. And overall, defensively, I think they had a lot of problems. They don't really get after the passer that well. And I think Deshaun Watson could cause all kind of problems. Matt, are we crazy?
No, I think I'm with you guys. I think I like the Texans in an upset here. I figured this would be a really tight game to begin with, but early in the season, especially, you got Julian Edelman out. I don't see really where New England's going to be able to run the football very well this year. James White is a good back, but he's more like a playoff back and not really week one back. Defensively, they got a good secondary still with Gilmore back there, but I think they're losing players. They don't have Malcolm Butler anymore. Do they have McCourty? I think he's gone.
Well, that and just the lack of a pass rush, even if your DB is really good.
Yeah, there's really nobody that would scare me on that front four. A lot of scheme, but it's just a lot of transition now. You trust Belichick, obviously. I think their schedule is easy enough that they probably still find a way to win 12 games. But in this game, I could definitely see Houston winning this game. So, they got, Honey Badger now at secondary. In the secondary, you got J.J. Watt. A lot of guys on the defense. I don't know. I don't see really where Hopkins gets shut down either. I don't know that Gilmore's going to stop him. So I see Watson making a lot of big plays and squeaking one out.
All right, Brian, you want to make it a four-way sweep, which if we do, we need to call Vegas and let them know that it actually wouldn't be an upset.
Yeah, I was going to take the Texans, and I figured there'd be somebody who would take the Patriots. But, this is, as much as I do believe the Patriots are going to win 11, 12 games. They're going to be that team in the playoffs that is going to be dangerous. They've got that. This is not the game that I see them winning. I think the Texans are a good team. The biggest thing for the Texans is can they, first of all, sustain being a good team for a whole season, and can they stay healthy? But right now they're coming into week one all guns blazing, and I just think this is a setup game that the Patriots are not going to win. So I'm taking the Texans.
And the great thing about this, if the Texans wins, then for the next week on ESPN, they're going to talk about how it's the end of the New England Patriots, which is what they do every year, including last year.
Every year.
All right, so next up, we've got the team that I hate the most, the San Francisco 49ers, because they beat my team in the Super Bowl twice. And I'm pretty sure it was fixed both times, at the Minnesota Vikings. So we got to start off with Matt Andruscavage, our resident 49ers homer.
Well, as much as I want to take the Niners in this game, I do think it's going to be a winnable game, but it's going to come down to Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins takes care of the football, they're going to win the game. For the Niners to win this game, they're going to have to get multiple turnovers. I do think they're going to be able to get some points on the board. I do think their defense will get to Cousins a little bit. I don't think they're going to get blown out of the water here, but they're not at Minnesota's level yet. Reuben Foster is suspended for the first 2 games. That's a huge loss. If Reuben Foster was there, I'd feel a little bit better about the defense. But they're going to a lot of things have to go right. I do think they'll have their chances, but in the end, I think Minnesota probably pulls this one out.
All right, so when we look at Kirk Cousins, Brian, in Minnesota, what do you expect from him there? I mean, do you think, because I think this is going to go one of two ways. He's either going to be phenomenal, they're going to be a Super Bowl team, or this is just going to crash the whole damn thing.
I agree. The biggest thing for him is this is the first time in his career where he really can come in and again do what Minnesota quarterbacks did last year, and that's manage the game. Don't turn the ball over. Get your 17 to 21 points, and you're going to win. Because defensively, they game in, game out are not going to give up very many points. If he comes in and does that, then yeah, they're a Super Bowl team. If he comes in, throws picks, does stupid things, and now they're losing games because they're putting their defense in a bad spot, then it's going to go badly, and you're gonna see a lot of people in Minnesota ready just to jettison him out of there pretty quick. So it's going to be interesting over the first 4 or 5 weeks to see how he does.
All right, Tony.
I like Minnesota in this one. I think if you look at one weakness, it's that Minnesota offensive line, but what they do defensively, they've had a full offseason to study Jimmy Garoppolo and his tendencies and what they want to force him into. They're young. Their front four is dominant, and they carry, if you look at the roster cuts, they're carrying 11 defensive backs. So they're deep at that position. They can run multiple guys out there. They're going to be physical at the line of scrimmage. They're going to play man. I just think they're too much in week one. I think Kirk Cousins comes out and play well, and they put a good step forward to capitalize on what was a great season last year for Mike Zimmer and the Vikings.
Yeah, and I love Mike Zimmer. I'm going to go with the Vikings. I don't have him picked to go to the Super Bowl just because Cousins is one way or the other. But I really love Zimmer. I wish the Bengals would have made him the head coach in about 2013, but that didn't happen. I like the Vikings to win this game. I think they win it by double digits. But I think the 49ers are still going to have a solid season and have a shot to be at least a wild card team. Next up, the Tennessee Titans at the Miami Dolphins. I'll start this one off first. I don't know what to think here. I think Ryan Tannehill, if you look at his numbers, is not as bad as a lot of people make him out to be. Marcus Mariota, I think, is a good quarterback. I think when you look at it, if they were playing later in the season, I would pick Tennessee hands down. But I'm going to pick Miami because it's going to be 90 degrees down there. No, I'm not. I'm picking Tennessee. Tony, what do you think? I did that for Chris Cook, who does a Game Day IQ show for us, and he's a huge Dolphins fan. And, I just wanted to give him some hope before everybody picked the Titans. Go ahead, Tony.
I'm gonna go on a ledge here, and I'm gonna take the Dolphins to start the year off
There you go.
a little bit better than they were last year. I just think that when you come in, I think Tannehill at the end before he got hurt last year was playing good football. They were spreading the ball around. I know there's a lot of questions, but it just seems like year in, year out, Tennessee's right on the verge, and they just don't get over the hump. You bring in Mike Vrabel, his first game now as an NFL coach. I don't think things go as smoothly for them at the start of the season. I think the Dolphins can steal one here.
Yeah, I can see it. I'm not impressed by the Dolphins. I don't think the Titans are going to be a playoff team the way most people do. Matt?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Titans here. But really nothing would surprise me in this game. I don't think either team's real good. I do like Mariota. I like Derek Holmes, Delaney Walker's still a good tight end. I mean, they've got talent over in Tennessee, but, you know, when we saw a couple of years ago, it made it seem like they were on the verge of becoming what we think maybe what the Texans might become. And I just don't think it's going to happen. They strike me as a perennial 8-8, 9-17 with a chance to go to the playoffs, but not really the kind of team that's going to do anything major. So right. I'll pick them to win, but not like it's super impressive.
All right, Brian.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Titans. I think that they have enough in this game, but I agree. I think the Titans are they're that 8-8, 9-17. They're a dangerous team every week, but they're just not a team that you can look at and feel confident about making the playoffs. So for this week, yeah, I think the Titans will win this, but again, they're just not an impressive team to me either.
All right, next up, Matt, we get the Jacksonville Jaguars at the New York Giants. I think this is one of the most intriguing matchups of this week one.
This is a very intriguing matchup. What changes the Giants to me is Saquon Barkley. I mean, the Giants they had a rough year last year. I think they've got some talent, obviously, in multiple places, but bringing Saquon Barkley in makes them much more interesting because we don't know just how good this guy could be. If he's as good as a lot of people think, that really changes what the Giants are. Jacksonville, obviously, really good defensively. Still unsure about Blake Bortles. I think losing Marquise Lee for the year is big. They don't have Allen Hurns anymore. Allen Robinson is gone. So, you're looking at, Leonard Fournette is the bulk of the offense and really a questionable quarterback. I thought he played well in the playoffs, but I don't know. I'm a little unsure. I'm going to take the Giants in a really, really close game here. Now I got to be honest. I'm not super up on the Giants. I should be more up on them than I am. But I do like the receiving core. Obviously, Eli Manning can still play, but I don't remember a whole lot about what the Giants have done in their secondary. So I don't know that the Jaguars have a ton of threats in their receiving core anymore. So I don't know if it matters. So I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to say that Saquon Barkley plays very well in his debut, and that they play good at home to win the game.
All right, Matt, try to be more prepared next week. Tony, what do you think? Jaguars and Giants.
I was shocked when the Browns passed up on Saquon Barkley. I think he's one of those special talents that's going to be around this league for a long time. I just can't bet on Blake Bortles. I don't trust the guy yet. He loses a ton of his weapons, and to me, what you don't see a ton in the NFL anymore is bulletin board material. And every time Jalen Ramsey opens his mouth for the Jaguars, he puts bulletin board material up there talking about Eli Manning, talking about the Giants' offense. I think the Giants come out and make a statement. I think the anxiety relief now that Odell Beckham got paid, he's going to play much more freely. I love the Saquon Barkley pickup. I like Sterling Shepard with him. I think the Giants are a formidable offense this year, and they come out and get a win this week.
Yeah, and I think, Brian, that people forget 2 years ago, the Giants' defense is why they went to the playoffs. I know they lost a couple guys there, but I still think the Giants could be a playoff team pretty easily this year, and I think they could challenge the Eagles in the East.
Yeah, I think the one thing about this game is I feel like personally, and the Giants got better from last year. I don't feel like the Jaguars got better. I think maybe they're at the same, of where they were. And to me, Blake Bortles is a guy that, he had a great playoff, but this is a guy that 2 years ago, I mean, he couldn't throw the ball in the ocean from the beach. So I'm just not, I can't get behind that. Yes, they got a running game, but I think the Giants are a lot better team than people are giving them credit for, and I think they will win this game as well.
All right, next up, Brian, we'll go to you. The Cleveland Browns host.
That's a 4-game sweep?
That is a 4-game sweep, isn't it?
Okay. Wasn't sure if you picked the Giants.
I picked the Giants. I didn't pick anything. You're right, but I'm picking the Giants. Next, I forget about myself because I'm just worried about you guys. I know how you and Schmidt are with the egos, and I don't want anybody to get upset. You know, remember when Ryan refused to come on the show that one time a couple of years ago because he thought we were disrespecting him? But next up, we've got...
When was I there for that?
We've got the Cleveland Browns hosting the Devils team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Brian, who do you got?
Go Devils! Put the horns up in the air, baby. I got the Steelers in this, but it's an uncomfortable pick, and that's because the Browns have definitely upgraded talent. Steelers offense without Le'Veon Bell is still a good offense, but with Le'Veon Bell, it's a great offense. And I don't know, Le'Veon Bell will be playing in this game. It's funny, you see all these Steeler, boards, chat rooms, they all talk about, we don't need Le'Veon Bell. Connor is a good back. Yes, he's a good back, but he's not Le'Veon Bell. And I think the Browns have improved, especially offensively. And they're a dangerous team right now on paper. Now, 5 weeks from now, it could be the Browns of old, but this is a dangerous team. But I'm going to take the Steelers, but it's an uncomfortable pick.
All right, Matt?
I would largely agree with what Brian said. I'm going to take the Steelers, but I'm remembering last year when the Browns gave them a hard time, and I believe it was the opening week. Browns are looking to make a statement. The Browns are, they won one game in the last 2 seasons. They want to shed that. They've got Jarvis Landry and Josh Gordon. They've got talent. I think they've been working on multiple positions. I don't think the Browns are just going to be this god-awful team that they've been the last 2 seasons. I'm not saying they're going to win 7-8 games, but they could be a very difficult team that wins 5 games. And this could be one of them, but I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I got to ask, Brian, is Le'Veon Bell really not going to play in this game?
I don't know. You see different things coming out of Pittsburgh about it. I don't know. You would think that he would at least play some, but there's a lot of unhappy people, in the Pittsburgh organization with the fact that he didn't come in Monday. And the thing is, there's so many people that want to wash their hands of him, and I get Pittsburgh not wanting to sign him to a long-term deal. The reason being is the running back position is a position where, first of all, he's had the injury problems, but it's a position where, as good as he is, and he's great, he could be a shell within a year or two. So I get not wanting to give him money. I get that, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see if he does play, how much he plays, and going from there. But with him, they're I think the best offense in the NFL. Without him, I think they're in the top 4 or 5, but I don't think they're the best offense.
All right. So if I'm picking this game, the reason I'm picking Pittsburgh in this game is Hugh Jackson's 1-31. I watched Hard Knocks. I wasn't impressed with the way he coaches his team. I may be way off base there, but it looks like he wants to be everybody's friend. And the biggest thing that stands out to me is this. I don't think Cleveland's offensive line is that good. And I think Pittsburgh's offensive line is one of the 3 or 4 best in the NFL. So what do you got, James Conner or Le'Veon Bell? I mean, when you got an offensive line that good, you got Antonio Brown to throw to, and you got a Hall of Fame quarterback, and the pass rush, I think, is going to be all over Cleveland. So I think people that think this game is going to be close are going to be mistaken, and I think the Browns will be better than last year, but I look for more like 3 or 4 wins, Tony.
Yeah, I play Le'Veon Bell this week in fantasy, so if he can not play this week, that would help me get off to a great start there.
I have him on my team, so I really want to know.
Yeah, I have Antonio Brown, so the more Bell doesn't play, but I'm gonna sound like the idiot here because I just picked the Steelers to go to the Super Bowl, but I'm taking an upset. Week 1, I'm going to take the Browns, which is very hard for me to say at this point, but I feel like distractions cause problems in the NFL. And as much as the Steelers want to come out and say, no matter when Le'Veon Bell shows up, I still think it's a distraction for that team. I think the addition of Todd Haley helps Cleveland a lot. And then they are. When you look at that roster from top to bottom, a healthy Myles Garrett on defense getting after the quarterback. I think Njoku at tight end is going to be a stud. Jarvis Landry can catch the ball. And Tyrod Taylor doesn't turn the ball over. He's a quarterback that they haven't had in a while in Cleveland because he manages the game well. I still think Pittsburgh gains momentum and they get to the Super Bowl, but I think they stumble and have that wake-up call in Week 1 and the Browns get them.
Well, isn't Tyrod Taylor something they haven't had in Cleveland just because he is an NFL quality quarterback?
Well, that's true as well.
Yeah, and what's your take on Baker Mayfield, Tony?
I like Baker. I think he's different than Manziel because I think he manages the game, and I think when you watch him in the preseason, he moves extremely well in the pocket. He doesn't want to be a run-first guy. He can run when he has to. But I like his accuracy. I like his timing. I like the fact that he can sit behind Tyrod right now and understand the game. And just everything that you've seen up to this point, he's done the right way. Getting the RV with Tyrod and bunking with him for camp. He has that chip on his shoulder from being a former walk-on to earning a scholarship and winning a Heisman Trophy. I like Baker. I just think that, like I said earlier, I think Cleveland could have got away with taking Barkley at number 1 and still got Baker Mayfield because I think Ward was a little bit of a reach for them. But, they like the guy, and I think it pays off for him.
Well, I think the biggest difference between Baker and Johnny Manziel is Baker just understands what's going on around him, I think, a lot more than what Manziel did.
Absolutely.
But next up, Patrick Mahomes makes his debut with the Kansas City Chiefs at the Los Angeles Chargers. I'll start off here. I picked the Chargers to win the Super Bowl. I think they'll win this game. I think, like I said, the Chiefs will start off slow. They've got Andy Reid, who is a really good football coach. And I think Mahomes is going to develop into a good quarterback. I think if you look at Mahomes now compared to him 2 years ago, it's night and day. So I think there's a good chance that this does turn around for the Chiefs towards the end of this season. And I think in the long run, I think Mahomes taking over for Alex Smith is a good thing because I think Alex Smith is only going to take them as far as he's ever taken them before. What do you think, Tony?
I had the chance on Saturday at the UCLA game to see Travis Kelce, who I got to play with at UC. And all accounts from Travis about Patrick Mahomes is that he is dominating. He's been great at practice. He's been great in camp. And I think when you have a tight end like Travis Kelce, who's one of the tops in the game, when you have a safety net like him that you can rely on and give the ball to on those different situations, they have Kareem Hunt, they have Tyreek Hill, they have Sammy Watkins now. They have so many weapons on offense. And I feel like every year we talk about the Chargers the same way. They start slow, gain momentum at the end. There is a player for the Chargers, which your Super Bowl pick that I like. It's not Melvin Gordon. I like their backup, Austin Eckler. I think is going to be a huge player for them and a big role guy this year. Whether Gordon gets banged up or he just gets touches, I think he's a great talent. But I got to go with my Cincinnati guy. I got to stick with Travis Kelce here and take the Chiefs in Week 1.
You don't have to unless he's listening. All right, Matt, Chiefs at Chargers.
Well, I like Kansas City's offense a lot. I think Tyreek Hill sometimes gets lost in the shuffle here. The guy is super young, had a 1,000-yard season last year. He's a huge threat on special teams. Kareem Hunt, if he is anything like he was last year, sometimes you worry about sophomore slump, but if he can be anything like last year, that bodes well for Patrick Mahomes. So I like their offense. The problem with Kansas City is I just don't know who they're going to, if they're going to really be able to stop a lot of teams. You got Eric Berry back there, but boy, they lost players. San Diego, I like Joey Bosa. I like their defense, and I do like their offense too. I think Phillip Rivers still got a lot left in the tank. And I'm going to go San Diego Week 1 to win. I said San Diego, didn't I?
Yes, it's usually me.
I don't think I'll ever get used to that. don't think they're ever going to be
If
the
you're
LA
like me,
Chargers
I kept
to
calling
me.
the Rams Los Angeles Rams so long that they actually became the Los Angeles Rams again. Brian?
That's what I'm going to do. I can't deal with that.
Schmidt,
LA
Chiefs
Chargers.
Chargers.
This is a tough game to pick. I think you can really see going either way and not be wrong. But I'm going to take the Chargers in this just because I think that the Chargers are a really good football team. I think that in the end, I think the experience of Phillip Rivers and that offense will overcome Mahomes, and I think that he'll throw a pick or two that'll be costly. I think I think he's got the opportunity to really be what the Chiefs are looking for at quarterback. But in this game, I think the Chargers will get 3 to 4 points better than the Chiefs.
All right, next up, we'll start off with Tony. The Dallas Cowboys at the Carolina Panthers.
Oh, I can't go against my Panthers. I like what they've done now. I think McCaffrey is going to be a workhorse this year. I think they're going to use him exclusively. I think Cam Newton has kind of reinvented himself in the offseason. I like Devin Funchess as their number one, and anytime you got Luke Kuechly anchoring that defense, you're going to give yourself a good chance to be great defensively. You're going to stick in games, and I just think when you look at the front seven for Carolina against Ezekiel Elliott, I think that balances out, and Carolina controls him. And you just don't know who's going to be that option for Dak. Is it going to be Allen Hurns? Is it going to be, you really don't know after that where they're going to be offensively in the passing game. There's no Jason Witten. There's no Des Bryant. I think there's a lot of questions early on in the season. I think Carolina's poised to make a good run this year. So I'll take the Panthers in this one.
Well, I agree in this game, and I think the Panthers are poised to make a run if the offensive line plays much better than what it has in the past. If the offensive line plays well with McCaffrey and Newton, I think they'll be fine. But that's a tough division when you're dealing with the Saints and the Falcons twice a year each. So I think they're a fringe possible wild card team. I still don't think they're quite as good as the Saints or Falcons overall, but I'm going with them also. Matt, Cowboys, Panthers.
Yeah, I think this is a really difficult matchup for the Cowboys. Going on the road week one. Carolina, to me, is deep in a lot of places. And, yeah, I'm with you totally. Christian McCaffrey is set up to have another really, really good season, probably better than last year. If Cam Newton can he doesn't have to be the MVP from 2015, but he's got to be better than what he's been the last 2 years if they're going to make a wild card run. But, yeah, I think that they've got enough on that team, especially week one, to take care of Dallas. Dak Prescott could really surprise, but that's the real question mark. Who's he going to throw to? I mean, I think Cole Beasley is going to be real good. Allen Hurns might be good, but just too many question marks. I think he really got used to having Witten as his safety net back there, and that's going to be interesting to see without him there. But I'm going to go Carolina.
All right, Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to make it a sweep here, I think. I'm going to go with Carolina as well. I like some of the things that I saw in the preseason, and I agree. I think Cam Newton has kind of reinvented himself. I think while I don't believe that they're better than the Falcons or the Saints, I do believe that this is a really good football team that I think is going to, if they stay healthy, they're going to be around all year long. And I just, I'm not a big Cowboys fan, and I just think that the Cowboys just, again, are a team to me that they just don't pass that look test with me. So I'll take the Panthers in this.
All right, Matt, Washington Redskins at the Arizona Cardinals.
Redskins at the Cardinals. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I think at home they're a good team at home. Sam Bradford, if they keep him upright, he's still a pretty good quarterback. I always love Larry Fitzgerald. It's if there's the two players I wish were on my team that aren't on my team would be J.J. Watt and Larry Fitzgerald. Not really sure just how good the Redskins are going to be this year. Alex Smith is, like you said, he's only going to take you so far. You got to have a lot around him. I don't think they've got a lot around him. And, I think the Redskins actually could finish last this year. I don't really see them improving, see them just kind of declining. This is one of those games where I think you pick the home team here. Arizona, not really sure how good they're going to be for the whole year, but week 1, I think they'll win their home opener.
Yeah, I'm picking Arizona. I like the Cardinals' defense. They've got David Johnson also. I think they're a better team than Redskins, Tony.
Yeah, and this one I'm gonna go with the Redskins just because I think Alex Smith is going to have that extra chip on his shoulder. Everyone talks about Kirk Cousins leaving. Everyone talks about Mahomes filling in for Alex Smith. And what Alex Smith does better than anyone in the league, or attempts better, he uses his tight end. And Jordan Reed has always been a guy, when healthy, that can create matchup problems. I think they use AP in different situations at running back. And then you still got Pierre Garçon. You still got a couple weapons. And I just think that carries Washington to a week 1 win here on the road.
Pierre Garçon's going to be on my team this week, just so you know.
Wrong one.
Nobody cares about fantasy football. Brian?
No. He's on the 49ers.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I went wrong one there.
Oh, okay. We'll act like Tony didn't say that. Brian?
Nope.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the I'm gonna go with the Redskins as well. I think Alex Smith will do enough in this game to be able to get them into, you know, that 19, 20, 16, 15 kind of game. And I think that they'll use, you know, Adrian Peterson in spots. The Cardinals, just to me, offensively, they just, you know, they've got weapons, you know, a few weapons, but they never seem to really do a whole lot offensively over the last few years. And you know, the quarterback play has been a big part of that. And I just think that the Redskins are going to come out in this one and be able to win a 3 or 4 point game because of Alex Smith, because Alex Smith has always played well, especially early in the season.
All right, next up, we get the Seattle Seahawks at the Denver Broncos. Brian, we'll start with you on this one.
Oh man, I'm going to take the Seahawks on the road. I'm not a big Seahawks fan in terms of what they have, but there's just something about this game that's really kind of told me that, you know, in my head and in my stomach is, you know, hey, the Seahawks are going to win this one on the road, and so I'm going to go with that as kind of a pick, kind of maybe against the grain. I don't know. We'll see what you guys are doing.
All right, Tony.
Yeah, I think this one's just a toss-up, but I think Case Keenum does enough with the Broncos to give them a chance to win. You still got Demaryius Thomas. You still got Von Miller on defense. I think they have enough. You're adding in Chubb. They're going to be a great front four defensively. And the Seahawks, you still have that vision of Seattle as the Legion of Doom in the backfield and that great secondary. That's not the case anymore. They have holes in that defense. Granted, you still have Russell Wilson and Doug Baldwin, but that offensive line is depleted. I look at the Denver front four just to get after Russell Wilson and get a win in week 1.
Yeah, and I love Russell Wilson. If you're going to give me any quarterback under 30 to start a team with, it would be Russell Wilson. But Russell Wilson, to me, is kind of like Andrew Luck this year. He's kind of stuck out there on an island by himself with no offensive line. Denver's defense is really good. I think Seattle's defense is going to be middle of the pack now. So I like the Broncos in this game, man.
Yep, same here. I think the Broncos have enough at home to win this game. Seattle defensively, I mean, they don't just have holes. I mean, they lost their 2 best pass rushers. Richard Sherman's gone. I don't think Earl Thomas is even going to play in this game. Cam Chancellor is retired. They've got real problems in that defense. Offensively, yeah, the offensive line, Rashad Penning's out. I think they were kind of banking on him to have an impact. He might have an impact later, but he's out. But Baldwin's been banged up. They just don't have a lot on that team. And on the road, Seattle historically is not the same team. If they're at home, I might give them benefit of the doubt to squeak this one out, but not on the road. I think Denver's got enough offensively and defensively to get this done.
Plus, I think Seattle has how do I say this, not very good offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, and I don't know why they're picking a running back in the late 20s when they got all the holes they've got. That brings us to Sunday night, the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. And let me ask you this, Matt, before you pick the game. Why do we have to watch this on a Sunday night football? We know what's going to happen, don't we?
Yeah, this is a pretty terrible matchup for Sunday night football, especially week one.
They could have at least put it in Chicago.
I mean, they couldn't have known. Well, maybe they could have. I mean, maybe you'll have to clarify this for me, Mike, but they couldn't have known that they were going to get Khalil Mack. I do think the Bears with Khalil Mack, we were kind of talking at the beginning of the show about this, their front seven is now all of a sudden very interesting, a lot scarier. They've got a lot of talent on that front seven, but it's just really hard to believe they're going to be able to go in and beat Green Bay. Mitch Trubisky is going to have the game of his life. I think they've got a running game. They've got weapons. They've got defense, but I just don't see how they're going to win this game. So I got to pick Green Bay. Pretty terrible matchup for Sunday Night Football, but I do think the Khalil Mack signing is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think the Bears are a team that's going to be really improved this year, but I just don't see Mitch Trubisky being the guy that someday gets them over the top, Tony.
Yeah, I'm with you. And you know, as much as I thought this was early on going to be a celebration of Aaron Rodgers cashing his check and running away with this game, I do think it's closer. I definitely think Aaron Rodgers is not happy that he has to see Khalil Mack twice a year now because that is a scary guy coming off the edge. But I just think, like you said, a healthy Aaron Rodgers is good for about 10 or 11 wins in itself. He's just that good. To me, he's the best quarterback in the league right now. I think he carries them to a Week 1 win in Green Bay, and really they start to can they be a receiving core with Devontae Adams now at the top that can lead them? You lose Jordy Nelson. Do you have enough at the receiving core position in talent? Jimmy Graham at tight end, I think, is a great addition for them. I think they're an offense that's going to put up a lot of points.
Yeah, and I think that's why this game's a blowout. I just don't see how the Bears can score enough points, and if the Packers put up 24, I think the game could be 24-10. It's just, I'm not a big Mitch Trubisky fan, Brian.
Yeah, I know you're not, and I'm not either. And I think the Bears defensively, I mean, are going to be, they're going to be tough. But
well, they got
again,
in the backfield, and anytime you get a running back, you get any kind of player from Indiana, you know they're going to be good.
Well, the Bears are the kind of team that, I mean, they can give up 17 points and still lose. I just don't think they can, do anything offensively. And I think the Packers will win this. I think it'll be 20-10 kind of deal, but the Bears are on the right track, but they've got to look at a quarterback in the future, because I just don't think Mitch is going to be the guy.
All right, that leads us to the Monday night games. The early game at 7:10, the New York Jets at the Detroit Lions. Sam Darnold will make his first start. Tony, what's your take on Sam Darnold?
I think he's going to be great for the Jets. Obviously, I think there's going to be growing pains this year, just because when you look at that roster, there's not enough around him yet to really build on. And to me, this game essentially goes in the same category as the Bears-Packers for me. I don't have much interest in either. I think the Lions, obviously they pay Stafford a ton of money, but their running back situation's a revolving door. The defense is what it always has been. I think the Lions take a win just because of the Darnold growing pains are going to happen this year. But I think the upside for him, as long as he can go this year and keep his confidence. A lot of young quarterbacks that get thrown in there early, it can be very easy to lose that confidence when you struggle early. The Jets are going to struggle this year, but I think if Darnold can stay the path and understand that it is a process and it's going to take time, I think it pays off for him in the end.
Yeah, I like Darnold, but the thing I really like about the Jets, and I hope he doesn't get fired if they only win 5 or 6 games, is I think Todd Bowles is a really good football coach. You look what he did to get them 10 wins 2 years ago. I know they dropped off last year, but they haven't given him a lot to work with. Matt, Jets-Lions.
I'm going to go with the Lions kind of by default here. I think I agree with you guys. I think Darnold's going to be good. I just don't know that the Jets are a real good situation for him to make serious strides in year one. They've got some interesting pieces in a couple places, but I don't know. I don't think they've got enough. The Lions, though, not really sure how their new head coach is going to be. It's kind of an interesting situation there. Garrett Blunt at running back that'll help. I like Stafford. I definitely, we talked about this a lot last year. I like Matt Stafford. He's fun to watch. He's a good quarterback. The problem with him is he doesn't win a lot of big games at the end of the year. But I think early in the year at home, they'll win. I don't know that they're going to be a real contender or anything like that, but I think they'll beat the Jets for sure.
All right, I agree with you. I think the Lions win the game. Brian?
Yeah, I agree. Lions win this, but I agree with the Jets, and I think that this is a team that if they can continue to develop him quarterback and do these things, I think they can really, as the season goes on, be a kind of a dangerous team. But that team that you don't want to really play week 14, week 13 kind of deal. But in this one, I think the Lions will win this just based on the fact that you've got a rookie quarterback going against Stafford. I think Stafford is a guy that really deserves to be on a team that can win because I think he's a really good quarterback.
And finally, we've got the Los Angeles Rams at the Oakland Raiders. This is a game where I think the Rams are just too talented for them. It is a season opener. None of us really picked that many upsets, and there's always some games that go ways you don't think they'll go. I don't think this is one of them, though, Brian. I'm going with the Rams.
Yeah, I am too. I really like the Rams, and again, Oakland was not a great defense with Mac. Well, now that Mac's not there, and how do you expect to stop this Rams team? I like the running game. I like Goff at quarterback. And I think the Rams defense is very good. So I think the Rams win this. I'm not real sure it's going to be all that close.
All right, Tony?
I'm with you. I think the Rams come out and dominate this game. I think the John Gruden experiment is going to take some time, but I don't think that, like I said earlier, the game is where it's at when John Gruden last coached. It's a pass-happy league. If you have a dominant running back like the Rams do and receivers outside, it's a matchup nightmare. I like McVay, the young coach, seems to be what a great hold on this team. He's a player's coach. To me, I just think that you lose Khalil Mack with the Raiders. There are so many questions coming in with Derek Carr and what can Jordy Nelson be for that team on offense. I just like the Rams. I think they're gonna cause all kinds of problems up front with Sue and Donald, and they win this one going away.
All right, Matt?
Yeah, I don't think the Rams they're going to falter here. They just got too much talent, too many places. Raiders just don't have it. And I think, we've talked about this, Mike. John Gruden, what did he do after he took over Tony Dungy's team?
And the
won
other thing is
Bowl?
this, to Tony's point, and I was going to bring this up earlier, but you know how I am, Matt. I forget what I'm going to say if somebody talks for more than a minute. But if you look at Dick Vermeil, I think his first 2 years back with the Rams were 4-5 win seasons. Joe Gibbs was the same way his first year or two. After they both adjusted, the Redskins go to the playoffs with Gibbs. Vermeil wins a Super Bowl with the Rams. So I think it's going to take a while. But this roster is so depleted that they're going to have to draft really well for the next couple of years and almost nail everything they do to turn it around within a couple of years.
Yeah, I just don't have the confidence that the Raiders are going to do that. I think they kind of had their chance a couple of years ago when Derek Carr was an MVP candidate, but then he got hurt. And I think that was really at the top of what they have. Ever since then, they've been in decline, and now losing Khalil Mack, and that's a special player. I just don't think they're going to recover from that. And unless they draft, they have to find another guy like that. I just don't know that they've got enough around Derek Carr to really do something great.
All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get everybody's final words. Schmidt? Final thoughts?
Week one is always a special week. You're always going to get a few upsets. You're going to get some games that are close that you don't expect to be close. So So week one in the NFL is always a fun week, and so I'm definitely going to enjoy watching some games. Just because I think every week one there's always going to be something that you didn't expect. So it should be a fun week.
Well, and Tony, it's got to be better than watching the Cincinnati Reds on a Sunday afternoon.
Yes. Done with the Reds. We've been in Bengals preseason mode ever since we could here. But
I think the Reds were done by like April 15th,
Yep.
anyways.
Yep, it's a time, and it is. It's in Cincinnati right now. There's the hope that the Bengals can turn it around. They've certainly showed a lot of skill and promise, but there's still questions on the offensive line, and that's what, much like you said, that it's just the unknown of week one that makes it so exciting, because someone's going to step up, and we're going to be talking next week about, is it a Patrick Mahomes that comes out and throws for 400 yards, or does Saquon Barkley come out and run for 200 yards? There's going to be individual performances that you don't expect coming out of the gate in week one. They're going to take this league and divisions by storm, and that to me is the exciting part. Once you have 3 or 4 weeks to understand what these teams are, you kind of start to get a feeling. But man, that unknown of the first couple of weeks of football to me is the most exciting part.
Yeah, and I think my biggest shock will be Joe Mixon over 200 total yards. Matt?
Yeah, you kind of took the words out of my mouth there, Tony.
Joe Mixon? Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the great unknown. Week one, we base a lot of what we're saying on what we saw last year. We try to adjust that with what we saw in the off season and some preseason, but it's still such a great unknown. A lot can happen. There's a lot of teams that we think might be on the cusp that could end up getting over the hump. Some great teams that we think are going to be contenders that a couple of them could really fall off the rails this year. Just a few things go wrong. So, you never know. And that's the nice thing about week one. So, like Brian said, very exciting week.
All right, guys. Everybody good for next Tuesday night at 9:30?
Yep.
Sure, good for me.
All right, guys. I want to remind you also, tomorrow live at 6 o'clock Eastern, you can hear the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show with myself and former Cincinnati Bengal linebacker Joe Kelly. You can hear the San Francisco 49ers Show with Matt Andruscavage and Dexter Carter. When?
We're recording tomorrow, so we'll probably be on near the middle to the end of every week.
All right. Let's see. We got anything else coming up? Oh, tomorrow night, me, Brian Schmidt, and Robert Drummond, 4-time Grey Cup winner to CFL, will be on with our CFL Weekly Show tomorrow night at 9 o'clock. So make sure you check that out also. You can hear all of our shows now on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Wherever you find sports podcasts, you'll find The Grueling Truth. So for Tony Pike, Brian Schmidt, Matt Andruscavage, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.